Hey everyone, and welcome. So today we're going to talk about a really important food in Japan. But, it might not be the one that pops into your head right away. Let's get into it. Okay, quick question for you. When you think about Japanese food, what's the first thing you picture? I'm guessing a lot of you are saying sushi, right? Or maybe ramen. And yeah, those are super famous. But there's another dish, one that people in Japan eat all the time, like every single week.
So here's what we've got lined up. We'll start by talking about how there's more to Japanese food than just sushi. Then, and this is a really cool part, we're going to uncover a surprising British connection. After that, we'll see how a new Japanese recipe was born. And we'll finish up by looking at why it's such a popular comfort food in Japan today. All right, let's dive into our first section. So, everyone knows sushi. It's famous all over the world. But like I said, there's another dish that's a huge part of everyday life in Japan. And that dish is Japanese curry. Yep, curry. You can find it pretty much everywhere in Japan. It's in school cafeterias, it's on family dinner tables. It's just a massive part of their daily routine. So that begs the question, right? Where did this dish even come from? Your first guess might be India or Thailand, another country in Asia famous for curry. But the real story is a little more complicated. And honestly, the answer is probably going to surprise you.
Okay, let's get into that surprising story now. It's time to uncover the secret history of Japanese curry and its, unexpected British connection.
So the whole thing starts back in what's called the Meiji era. This was a time from 1868 to 1912 when Japan really started opening up to the rest of the world. And in the late 1800s, who shows up? The British Navy. And they brought a new kind of food with them. It didn't take long. By the early 1900s, the Japanese Navy was using the British recipe. Isn't that wild? Curry came to Japan from Britain, not from India. You might be wondering, wait, why did the British have curry? Well, that's because the British brought the spices over from India. See, back then, India was a British colony. And a colony is basically a country that is controlled by another, more powerful country. So the British got to know and love curry during their time in India. But here's the thing. The curry that the British brought wasn't exactly like the original Indian curry. Not at all. The British Navy version was more like a thick stew. They actually used flour to make it thick, and even added things like apples to make it sweeter. So yeah, it was way different from the spicier, lighter curries you'd typically find in India. Okay, so we've got the British bringing their style of curry to Japan. But how did that turn into the Japanese curry that people love today? Well, that's what our next section is all about, creating a new Japanese recipe. So the Japanese Navy saw this curry and thought, hey, this is a great idea. They were looking for a meal for their sailors that was simple to make on a ship and also really nutritious, full of good stuff to keep you healthy. Keeping the sailors from getting sick was a top priority, of course. So what did they do? They took the British recipe and changed it up. They added simple vegetables that last a long time, which is super important on a ship. Things like onions, carrots, and potatoes. And those three vegetables, they became the classic foundation, and they're still the key ingredients in most Japanese curry you'll eat today. This new Japanese recipe was just perfect. It didn't cost a lot of money, it was simple to cook, and it tasted great. So when sailors finished their time in the Navy, they took this recipe back to their hometowns. And from there, it just spread. It went from being a military meal to something you could find in homes and restaurants all across Japan. And that pretty much brings us up to the modern day. For our last section, let's look at how this dish made that final step, from being a food from another country to becoming a true Japanese favorite. So what exactly makes Japanese curry, Japanese? Let's do a quick comparison. If you've ever tried Indian or Thai curry, you probably know they can be pretty spicy and are usually kind of thin, more like a sauce. Japanese curry is different. It's usually a lot thicker, almost like a gravy, and it has this mild, slightly sweet flavor. It's just a totally different vibe, really warm and comforting. And how is it served? Simple. It almost always comes with a side of sticky white rice. That thick, savory sauce just goes perfectly with the rice. It's the classic combination, you can't go wrong. But wait, it's not like all Japanese curry is exactly the same. Oh no. There are all these different styles depending on where you are in the country. For example, up in Sapporo, they have something called soup curry, which is, you guessed it, thinner and spicier. Then you go to a place like Kanazawa, and their curry is super dark, really thick, and they serve it with shredded cabbage. It just goes to show you how much a part of the culture it's become.
So, when you think about it, a meal that started in the British Navy has been completely transformed. There's a great quote that I think sums it all up perfectly. This is no longer just a foreign dish. It is a true comfort food for our nation. I mean, that really says it all, doesn't it? It's been an incredible journey for this food.
And that's the story of Japanese curry. From a foreign recipe to a national favorite, it's had such a rich and surprising history. And all this talk about comfort food makes me curious. What about you? What's a really popular comfort food in your country? Does it have a cool story behind it? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me today.